We have done a poll that we released today, and this poll, supported by Uber, looks at what are the key concerns that women have regarding the both of public and private transport in 5 of the biggest countries in the world, not the easiest one. So we have looked at 5 cities. 66% of the world population will live in city in 2050. It's frightening when you see the gridlock in so many cities around the world. It's really frightening. So we need to solve this issue, and this poll is very interesting. Have a look.
Hombres irrespetuosos, que se te pegan, que te tratan de faltar el respeto.
Me voy del lado de las mujeres.
Tienes que a veces meterte en los hombres, porque la verdad a veces en el de las mujeres está a reventar.
Cuando no participan los hombres en el área de las mujeres, me siento más tranquila, más segura, sin ningún problema.
I don't aim to get to work at 9 a.m. because that's just impossible. Subway is super crowded and it's just not a pleasant trip.
I give myself a little bit of wiggle room because I know that the subways aren't totally trustworthy.
Last 2 or 3 jobs we were penalized. We would have to get a note from the subway station if we were late.
There really needs to be a focus on more ways to make the transport system easier to use.
If I saw someone who was harassing someone seriously, I would definitely report it.
Everyone should have the right to basically sit in a carriage or do what they want without being harassed.
I think I'd be more likely to report to the police now than I would have been in the past.
People would be wise not to interfere because you do not know if somebody's going to be armed with a knife.
I will stop if I'm by myself. I probably wouldn't if my daughter would be with me.
I think there's more awareness of sexual harassment now, and I think more is being done about it.
あまり危機感とか別になくてやっぱり女性にとってもそうなんですけど男性にとっても、冤罪とかが生まれることって
男性の専用車両も作った方がいいと思ってはいますけどね。はい。
痴漢とか嫌だったり訴えたい人はそっち行って。
Indeed, safe transport is absolutely crucial, of course, to go to work. And for women, this is crucial. You can prefer not to have a job than being insecure. To discuss the issue very quickly, we have 5 minutes. We have Tracy Breeding, who is the head of Global Women's Safety and Gender-Based Violence Initiative at Uber. That's a mouthful. Congratulations. And Belinda Goldsmith, who is the editor-in-chief of the foundation. She leads the team of 60 journalists that we have. So, Belinda, explain.
Thank you very much, Monique, and welcome to Tracy. We found the biggest concern for women.
Yeah.
We found, as you can see from the findings of the poll, we found that safety was women's biggest concern. 52% of women said that they were concerned about travelling on transport in their city, with women in Mexico City and Cairo the most concerned, with nearly 3 out of 4 saying they were at risk of sexual violence or harassment. The second biggest concern was time, particularly for women in New York, who said it could endanger their jobs if they didn't get to work on time, while for women in London, the cost of travel was the primary concern. But women in London were most confident someone would step in if they were being harassed. But overall, only 37% of women thought anyone would help them if they were in trouble. 56% of women did say that ride-hailing apps had improved their ability to get around their city. So Monique, why look at this topic now? Why women in transport?
Well, because women generally have 3 jobs. They have a job, they have children, and they have a home, and they must feed all these people. So when you are in a city, I mean, whoever has been in Jakarta knows that it's just impossible to do anything in less than 3 hours because you are stuck there, and there is no tube, and the bus is stuck with the car. It's terrible. So it's a really very important question. Time's Up and Me Too have also accentuated the recognition of the issue, and it has made the authorities think that maybe they should address that.
Tracy, technology's changed a lot. How is the wider use of smartphones and technology changing the way that women are traveling?
Well, I think technology has definitely made transportation more accessible for women. It's made it more shareable, more trackable, and there's pluses and minuses to that. It's certainly given them the opportunity to plan their trips out, coordinate with others, with their family, with their friends. You know, Uber just recently rolled out a safety toolkit as well as an emergency button. And think about that. That's given them the ability to get help right at their fingertips.
Monique, how would you hope that the findings of this poll can be used?
I hope the authorities will listen to what we say here. What we said when we did the poll in 2014, I think, on what are the most dangerous transport systems around the world, we found that the 3 worst cities in the world were all in Latin America. Bogota was the worst of all. And the mayor of Bogota, the same day, had to answer tons of questions from all journalists saying, what do you do about it? Why is it so dangerous for women to live in Bogota? And the mayor had to pay attention. He promised a lot of things. I don't know how many he did, but it is absolutely certain that since this Indian student was raped on a bus in Delhi in 2012, it has come to all the authorities that safety of women on transport is absolutely a question that could really make them look very bad if something like this happens again. So I hope it will.
Tracy, obviously at Uber, you have been in the spotlight for what you've been doing to protect women riders. Can you outline a few of the things that you have been doing, and also some of the initiatives at Uber on human trafficking? How you've been trying to train drivers on that?
Absolutely. We have been driving change across the world, rolling out women's safety initiatives as well as gender-based violence initiatives. And you know, that first starts with understanding. You have to understand this issue to really address it and combat it. And so we have partnered with organizations and experts in this space to learn more about how this impacts our communities that we serve and what we can do to better understand women's safety and violence against women. And then it goes to prevention. In order to prevent, experts tell us that you need education. That education is one of the most important things in preventing violence against women. So we've worked with those organizations to develop education to provide that important information for our riders and drivers, as well as doing awareness campaigns, because we want to see changes also in our culture and in the communities that we're in. And then there's response. So it's important how we respond to reports of violence against women. So we've worked with those organizations as well. We've recently trained our customer support agents on how to receive these reports appropriately, with understanding, with empathy, understanding sexual violence, and educating them in that space. Educating our executives from the top have had education also. And then just recently, we announced our taxonomy that we created with the National Sexual Violence Resource Center. And you may ask, well, what's important about taxonomy? Well, you have to understand how to categorize this, how to define it, how to clearly do that. And when you do that, then you're able to consistently count it. And once you're able to consistently account it, you can respond by having better strategies and responding more efficiently to it. And so that's been very important, along with we've committed to a transparency report in 2019. We did that when we rolled out removing mandatory arbitration for victims of individual claims of sexual assault. So we believe that's really important in driving change. And the last thing I'll say is with our technology, technology can be helpful, and it can help keep people safe. And rideshare, and we've recently again rolled out a safety toolkit as well as our emergency button, and we believe that that's important in keeping all people who use our platform safe.
I know you've been training your drivers to spot human trafficking.
Yes.
Can you give an example of where that has worked?
Yes, we've rolled out human trafficking initiatives, helping drivers, send important information to drivers so they know what it is, they know how to identify it, and they know how to take action. And we've actually seen hero drivers across the United States. We recently rolled this out in Latin America as well. We had showed a video at lunch of a Sacramento driver who had a 16-year-old in his vehicle and two female traffickers who were coaching her on the way to the hotel. And he was able to identify that situation and contact police once he let them out. And police were able to respond to the scene and disrupt that situation. But we've seen that happen. I've got an example in Philadelphia where a female Uber driver, a trafficker, flew a 16-year-old on an international airline to the airport, ordered an Uber to pick her up, and was sending her to a hotel where she had been bought on the internet, and the Uber driver, female Uber driver, was able to identify that she was being trafficked and was able to disrupt that. So, I remind people, we do almost 15 million trips a day. Those are lots of eyes and ears, and those are citizens. For the most part, these are good people, citizens that are in your communities, that if we empower them with information, they can truly make impact in our communities.
No, that's good. I mean, it's really interesting, and I will close on that, but it's really interesting. It's another proof that big corporations can make real change for all of us in civil society. And usually they start to do that after they had some bad stories. Mm-hmm. And so they think, we cannot accept that, we have to do something, and then they go massively. We have seen that with Apple, we have seen that with many other. It's really good. Uber, bravo.
Thanks so much, Tracy.
Thank you.